Good morning, Grace.
Good morning, Dr. Jordan. Today's the day I must tell you about what I did or didn't do.
It is not a question of your guilt or innocence. I simply wish to know what you yourself actually remember.
Nobody has cared about that before, sir. They told me I must be lying, except for the lawyer, Kenneth Mackenzie. But I'm sure even he did not believe me.
I will believe you, Grace. Let us continue with the chain of events, starting when Mr. Kinnear left town.
Nancy took charge of the household straight away and dismissed both of us, myself and James McDermott. I don't believe Mr. Kinnear knew a thing about it.
And why? And do you have any notion as to why she would do that?
Well, as I said, sir, she was in the family way. And it often happens like that with a man. They'll change from a woman in that condition to one who is not. It's the same with cows and horses. And if that happened, she'd be out on the road, her and her bastard. It was plain she wanted me out of the way and gone before Mr. Kinnear came home.
I see. But why dismiss James McDermott?
Who knows? Perhaps she just disliked him for his crude manners. McDermott was convinced she would send us off with no references and withhold our wages too. Said he thought Nancy and Mr. Kinnear deserved to be knocked on the head and thrown down a cellar, both of them. At first I thought this was just a way of talking, because he was angry and was always a boaster. My own father, when drunk, had often threatened me in this way, but had never in fact done so.
So you did not believe him at first?
Not at all. Nor would you, sir, if you yourself had been listening. I took it all for idle threats. Until he started suggesting that I ought to help him, and that if I didn't, I'd be blamed for it all. Then he did seem in earnest, and I was afraid of him.
Did you not warn anyone? Nancy herself?
And why would she have believed me, sir? It would have sounded too stupid if I said it out loud. There was only my word for it, which she could easily deny and say I was nothing but a silly, hysterical girl. And at the same time, if he meant it, he might have killed us both right there and then. And I did not want to be killed. The best I could do was try to delay him until Mr. Kinnear came back. At first, he said he was going to do it that very night, but I persuaded him not to.
How did you manage that?
I said that if Nancy was killed on a Thursday, that would mean a whole day of having to account for her whereabouts, whereas if we left it till later, there would be less suspicion aroused.
I see. Very sensible.
Please don't make fun of me, sir. It's very distressing to me, and doubly so considering what I'm being asked to remember.
Sorry, I didn't mean it that way. Before he was hanged, McDermott claimed that you intended to murder Nancy and Mr. Kinnear by putting poison in their porridge.
Who told you such a lie?
It's written in his confession.
Just because a thing has been written down, sir, does not mean it's God's truth.
Oh, indeed, Grace. But all the same, what do you say to it?
I think it's the silliest thing I've ever heard. If I wanted to put poison into a bowl of porridge, why would I have needed help from the likes of him? Could have done it myself. Put some into his own porridge too, into the bargain. Wouldn't take any more strength than to add another spoonful of sugar.
You are very cool about it, Grace. Why would he say that about you if it was false?
Perhaps he wanted to shift the blame. I suppose he wanted me to keep him company. The road to death is a lonely highway, and longer than it appears, even when it leads straight down from a scaffold by way of a rope. And it's a dark road, with never any moon shining on it to light your way.
You seem to know a good deal about it, for one that's never been there.
I too was condemned to be hanged, and thought I would be. When you yourself are to go the same road, you must take your bearings of it.
True enough.
Nor do I blame poor James McDermott, not for such a wish. I would never blame another human creature for feeling lonely.
Have you often felt lonely, Grace?
Yes. In the penitentiary, when there are punishments for things. And in the asylum. The doctors and the orderlies themselves often took liberties. These things made me feel like I was alone in the world.
Is it true that you were in a delicate condition when you left the asylum?
That is what they told me, sir.
That must have been very difficult for you.
Can we change the subject, please, sir?